Yo, welcome everybody. It's week 3 highlights of the U.S. Chess League, and you know what they say, mo video lectures, mo problems. That's right, just made that up just before this video lecture started. Hashtag cheesy. Hashtag. You can find those things on Twitter. Let's rock and roll. Here, the first game was International Master David Puce playing white for the San Francisco Mechanics. David, good buddy of mine, your friend, my friend, and former director here, partner of mine on Chess.com, making his U.S. Chess League return, not debut, and Chess.com return in many ways too. He definitely put on a show for his fans, had to review this one and highlight it for you today. We start with the critical position, though we're not doing total justice to the way David developed this attack. Obviously, great position. Queen on king, bishop on king action. That gets weird, right, when you got both those actions going on. All kinds of threats going to happen here. The rook on the 7th rank is right where he needs to be. And David actually missed the critical and biggest blowout here of Black's position with the brilliant move knight to b5, exclamaviach, exposing the fact that Black cannot actually afford to capture this pony due to bishop takes f7, Chekaruski, and if rook takes c8 is ouchtown. So king h8 would probably be met by rook takes c8, followed by capturing on g6, and that's a red rover, send Mr. Mo right over. But either way, David still finished off the game in style with the move knight to e2 and highlighted a lot of things that are bad about Black's position. Maybe he didn't quite trust his calculation. Maybe he just wanted to be a little safe. But the point is that this bishop's out of play. The queen is awkward. Obviously, Black's king leaves a lot to be desired. And the truth is, it's pretty hard to stop pretty natural-looking moves to come over to the king's side. So David made the safe decision and actually kept control over the d-file with this nice and very calm rook c to d1. After rook takes d7, rook takes d7, the truth is that Black could do nothing but wait for white to finally get this pony where he wants to be, and the rest would be history. So we'll go ahead and play the last few moves pretty quickly. Rook takes f7, followed by taking on f7 again. Once g6 is falling, pretty obvious that Black is lost. So really just an awesome game by Mr. Puce, and totally his style to develop an attack almost out of nowhere. If we went back to this position here, where David started with the move that I give an exclam, this move queen to d3, the subtle queen shift from the c to the d file, sort of exposed the awkwardness over here with Black's pieces, and after capturing on e5, it became very clear very quickly that all of White's pieces were going to be primed for an attack against the king. So truthfully, I could probably go over from queen to d3, but the bottom line is David put on a show for the fans. Congratulations to him, and congratulations to the mechanics. Speaking of the mechanics, we're going to take a look at another game from San Francisco. Here we have Jonathan Scher playing white against Mr. Jesse Cry. And after a very long game in which Jesse apparently was having internet issues and so struggling a little bit, keeping his emotions under control, we love you, Jesse. Black was finally establishing some dominance by getting the d-file, and despite White's protected past b-pawn, Black gets control over some critical areas of the board. But I wanted to set this one up because this is a good what not to do, or let's say prophylaxis position. If you think about Black's position here, what would you play? ... If you haven't paused the video, we're moving on. If you answered rook takes e2, you are a... No, I mean, I wasn't going to say something bad, but let's just say you're wrong. Rook takes e2, brilliantly trying to expose the fact that White's last move, king to g2, put these two pieces on a fork. But guess what? White doesn't have to capture on e2, and I believe that Scher set up this trap hoping for a U.S. Chess League online blunder, would have met the move rook takes e2 with the brilliant rook to d1, exposing Black's own awkwardness and the fact that sometimes squares are more important than pieces. Grandmaster Melikachian would definitely say that. And in this case, we see that the square control over the open d-file is by far the most critical thing in the position. And Black instantly goes from being okay and holding on to actually being lost after this move rook takes e2. And because it was even suggested in the commentary, obviously an easy tactic to miss, had to highlight it in today's video. Jesse made the right decision to play the move king to f7, and eventually worked his way back after a long, hard struggle to an obstacle bishop ending, where it should have been a draw, and he kept pushing, and eventually he managed to win this game, and a huge win for the mechanics, who are off to a 3-0 start. So congratulations to Jesse for not falling for this trap. Congratulations to Jesse for keeping his shirt on, and if you know Jesse, you know what I'm talking about. And congratulations for finding king f7 and going on to win this game against Mr. Scher. Let's move on. In our next game here with Mr. Schock versus Mr. Goldenberg, an East Coast matchup, switching from San Francisco, all the way to the other side of the country. Though it would not be argued that both players played perfect chess in this game for sure. It was definitely a back and forth, wild affair. But what cannot be argued is that this position here was about as instructive as any moment in the U.S. Chess League this week. After fighting hard to get the better side of an obstacle bishop ending, Mr. Goldenberg reached a critical position where, despite this extra pawn, it's not exactly clear how black is supposed to proceed in this game. And I would bet that at a lot of lower levels, players might already be thinking it was a draw. And though I would hope that none of my students or former students don't really do a lot of that anymore, wouldn't just accept a draw here, I would be surprised if many of them came up with the idea without a good hard think. So if you'd like to pause the video and give that thing a good hard think, I know you do. Come on, you're not here just to sit here and look pretty in front of the camera. You are here to put some work into this and to actually try to get better. So what is it that black is going to do here to make progress? As you know, that pushing this pawn, and even if you bring this king all the way over here, you're not going to be able to win with just that one pawn in an obstacle bishop situation where your opponent can pretty much sit all day as long as that b4 pawn is not under fire. So what is it that black has up his sleeve to find a way to win this position? A very, very instructive obstacle bishop ending. If you haven't paused the video, that's now officially a you problem. We move forward. b6, exclam if I have ever seen one. This is a brilliant move. It really is. It's exposing the fact that white cannot take with the bishop because the b4 pawn is under fire. And with the c pawn easily blockaded, white can establish the pawn on g2 on the same diagonal that blockades the pawn. And with advancing this pawn, it won't be long before this bishop has to give itself up, and eventually black will make his way all the way back over and win with this g-pawn. So the fact that the material that black actually sacrificed a pawn makes no difference because white will have to give up this bishop. But of course you say, well, obviously we're not going to take on b6 with the bishop, we're going to take with the pawn, and now we have this passed b-pawn. What exactly are you doing about that? Well, the point is that the immediate follow-up behind b6, if you didn't see it, you don't get full credit, is the move bishop to b7, blockading the b-pawn and essentially placing white's queenside in a complete stalemate. The only way to free this bishop, of course, would be to sacrifice the b-pawn to give the bishop some room. What's the problem with that? Well, in the game, you'll see exactly what happened. First thing, black will try to make his way back over to the king side and force white to be officially stuck with this g-pawn. Once that's the case, black can actually threaten to move the king closer and queen. Game over, right? White has finally been put up against the proverbial wall and has to play the move b5. All of a sudden we see that it's the same scenario we achieved with the outside passed a pawn. Black has two passed pawns against one, but most importantly is the frame of mind, or the presence of mind to realize this bishop can actually take care of the blockading duties whilst also defending the g2 pawn. Pretty amazing stuff, right? Just a really instructive moment and a really fun moment watching it. And again, doesn't matter if the game was flawed before. This is about as study-worthy as you get in an online chess game where you really have to struggle. And I know it's not super hard for Master Level Plus players to find this move, but instructive nonetheless. This follow-up with bishop e7, really a ton of fun to see Goldenberg take care of this game and win the game for Manhattan. So this was definitely a great one. Thanks again for tuning in to our YouTube highlights video for the U.S. Chess League Week 3. Remember, you can follow all the action on Tuesday and Wednesday nights over on Chess.com, Chess.com's live chess arena. Remember to follow me on Twitter. You can also follow the U.S. Chess League on Twitter. And join the fan clubs newly created for every team in the league over on Chess.com. You can get involved and support your favorite players and support your favorite team. Thanks, everybody. See you around on the main site.